Hey guys, my name is Ben and welcome to another Bukkit plugin tutorial. This is episode 63 and today we're going to be doing SQL. After a big break from Bukkit plugin tutorials, I'm finally back with the one that's the most requested one ever. So let's get right into it. If you don't know about SQL queries, how to set up an SQL database, I highly suggest go watching the new Boston's tutorials, else you'll have no idea what I'm doing essentially. Just watch the first 10-15 or so, get used to the basics of SQL. Get yourself an SQL server, set it up. I know most Minecraft server host things come with an SQL database nowadays, but yeah. So I've set up my database on PHPMyAdmin, so I'm going to be using for this. It's called TheBCBroz. That's the IP, and the password was something, and you'll see this in a second. So I'll input into code. So the name of a table. What we're going to do today is we're going to store player data on when a player. Okay. When a player joins the server, when a player leaves the server, or just when a player joins the server, and it's gonna count how many times the player joins the server and store it in our database. So we're gonna make a table called player data. There we go. So for us, player underscore data. It's gonna have two fields, I guess. We're gonna add more for future tutorials. So let's add two more fields. So we want four fields. One of them's going to be a varchar. It's going to have a length of 16 or 17 even, because that's sort of like 1 over the maximum length of characters you can have for a username. So that's the max it's going to contain. We're going to have 3 ints for the rest, and I'll explain this in a second. Obviously, if you don't know what I'm doing right now, go watch a tutorial on SQL databases. So the first one is going to be, oh good lord, can't type. I'm like my keyboard's under my desk, so it's not loud, because also I have to use this thing, and it's very loud. So the first field is going to be player, and that's going to be store the player's name. The second is going to be the player underscore kills, or actually we could just put kills like so. Deaths, and finally logins. So player kills, deaths, logins. So it's going to store player's name, how many of the people they've killed, how many times they've died, how many times they've logged in. We don't want any of them to be null, and let's save. So now we have a table. It returns an empty result set, so no rows with nothing in. So let's get into the code. Within Java, to make a connection between yourself and the database, we need to have either the database allowing direct connect, or allow it remote access to the IP that you wish. So that's something just to be aware. So we're going to make a private static connection variable called connection. Connection is imported from java.sql.connection. This is going to how we're connecting to the database. So we're just going to make a public void on disable first of all, I guess. So we're going to close the connection when the server closes. So we're going to check if connection is not equal to null, or what we could do is if connection is equal to null, or no, it's not all. That is not all either. I can't see my keyboard. Where is or? Where is it? Where are you? Let me look. You're down here. Or connection dot is closed. Then we're going to say connection dot close. Sorry, if connection is not equal to null and the connection is closed, then we're going to say connection dot close. We need to surround this with a try and catch statement, like so. So that's just going to close our connection, so we don't have a connection lingering open. We actually want to make our connection as well, so we're going to make a method that does that for us. So public synchronized, so that means it can only be run at one time. So if it's called twice when the first one is still running, it's going to wait for the first method to sort of run and then die, and then run the second one. So we're going to say public synchronized static void open connection, and we're going to make a try and catch statement, catch exception e, and in here we're just going to print stack trace. It's fairly likely-ish that this stuff will throw exceptions. So we're going to set connection equal to driver manager, so this is managers or your drivers, dot get connection, and this is where we're going to, get the connection. So if you just type what I type, I guess, and then I'll explain a second. So JDBC, so Java Database Connection, colon MySQL, colon // and here we're going to put the IP of our database. So here is mine. If I go back here, that's my IP for my database. So like that. Then I'm going to put a colon and then the port. So I believe the default port is 363 or 3066. I believe. Let me check. Let me find that out. It's 3306, and then a / and the database name. So mine in this case is called TheBCBroz. We put a comma after that string. We put our username. So my username was TheBCBroz, and then another comma after that string, and our password, which was, or my password was YouTube 2013 ! Okay, so that's our open connection method. So now what we want to do is we want to check if the table that we created, so this player data thing, if this contains, if it contains the key that we want of player, if it contains that player. So we're going to make a method called public synchronized static static void player data contains player, and it contains the player. We're going to check for that player that we're inputting, feeding in. So first of all, we want to try, I guess. We don't need to open the connection because this is only going to be run whilst the connection is open. This will never be run when the connection is not open. So we don't need to worry about opening the connection. So we're going to try and catch. And in this try statement, we're going to make something called a prepared statement. So what this does is we prepare our statement previous to executing it. So prepared statement, SQL, I'm just going to call it. And it's going to, SQL. And it's going to be equal to our connection that we opened, or will open. And we're going to prepare a statement like so. So it's connecting it directly to the connection that we've defined up here when this open connection method is run. Like so. So in here, we're going to run a basic SQL query, which you'll know if you've watched the tutorials that I've told you to. And we'll go, or if you're just here to, see the syntax, I guess that's fine. So we're going to select star from, so we'll select everything from, and then I need a grave accent. So let me just grab a grave accent from over here. I have a sheet with like little syntax things. So we're going to select grave accent from player underscore data. So they go around there, where player equals question mark semicolon. So the question mark is just a placeholder because we don't want to. It's something to do with SQL injections or something if you don't put question marks there. So yeah. Anyway. SQL.setString1. The 1 is basically saying SQL.replace question mark, and then the first question mark is, that's what the 1 stands for. If we put 2 here and we put like a question mark, if we put a comma and player logins, or what would I call it, kills equals question mark, we could then, that 2 would then stand for the second question mark I just put there, but we don't have that. So 1, and the player name is going to be equal to the player.getName. So to actually check if the table contains a player, we're going to make something called a result set. So result set, import from Java.SQL, I'm going to call this result set, equals SQL.execute query. So executing the query, and it will return us a result set. We're going to now say boolean contains player. So if the table contains player, it's going to return something. So it will return, the result set will return true if we go to the first result set and it contains something. If that contains something, the first result set, then that means it's not empty and it contains something. Otherwise, it's empty and this is just an empty result set. So finally, we can say SQL.close, so we can close that SQL statement, and the result set we can also close. Finally, we're going to want to return the contains player boolean we just created to check, and this, yes, needs to be a boolean, not a void. And then obviously we're going to have to add a final return statement in the catch statement, like so. So recap. We're going to make a prepared statement connecting us directly to our connection we defined up here when we open the connection. That's going to select everything from the player data table we created where the player equals something. That something corresponds to this set string variable or method here, where the number 1 represents the first question mark in the string or statement that we have just defined above. We're going to replace that question mark with player's name, so player.getName. We're then going to get a result set of that query from executing the query within the connection. We're going to get a boolean of whether the table contains the player by checking if the result set is empty or not. I don't know if there's an is empty. No, there's not. Just put next. There we go. And then we're going to close our SQL, so that's closed and won't receive any more data, and our result set, so that won't either. Okay, so we're going to want to make a public void on enable just to register some events. So we're going to get the server, get server dot get plugin manager dot register events in this class. Oh, good lord. In this class for the plugin that is this plugin, Java plugin. Okay, so let's make a listener for our when our player logs in. So let's make an @event handler. So @event handler, public void on player login event, and then import that. Okay, import that from org.bukkit.event.player.login event. So we're going to want to open our connection. So open connection like so, and then we're going to make a try. Catch except. Okay, sorry about that. Catch exception e and e.print stack trace. Now, finally, because we've already opened the connection, when this finishes, we want to close the connection and terminate that. So we're going to make something called a finally block, which is executed whether this succeeds or fails and goes into the catch statement. So to do this, we just type connection dot close, and this needs to try and catch, which means we're going to make another method. So up here, let's copy this, change this from open connection to close connection, format that. Instead of making the new connection, we're just going to say connection dot close. Add a catch statement in exception e, like so. There we go. So that's going to close our connection for us. And down here, instead of putting connection dot close, we can just put close connection, like so. So that will close our connection whether this succeeds or this fails. So let's make an integer called previous logins. So we want to get the previous amount of logins that the player has had. So set it to 0 for now. And we're going to check if the table, so the player data contains the player, event.getPlayer. So if that table contains the primary key of the player, we're going to make a prepared statement. We'll call this SQL equals connection.prepare statement. And here we're going to select the logins from, that was the wrong thing to copy. Let's get my little syntax. So we're going to select logins from player, oh god, I hate this keyboard, player data where player equals question mark. What does player equal? I hear you ask. Well, let's set the string first question mark equal to event.getPlayer.getName. So we're getting the player's name. It has to contain it because we're checking up here. We're getting everything from this if the player name is equal to that, and we're checking if that returns a result set with something in, which it must do if it's checking for the player which has something in. If this is true, which we're checking here, we are checking essentially is the same as equal to true, then it's going to have to return something. So let's get the result set, result, so SQL.execute query, and let's get the next result, so the first result set that's actually got something in, and it has to have something in because we've checked that up here as well in the table contains player, whatever thing we made, and then we're going to set previous logins equal to result.getInt, and then the name of the field that the it's going to be found in. So logins, because that's what we're selecting here. Selecting logins. So Now we're going to update the SQL database. So prepared statement, logins update equals connection. I put 3 n's. Connection dot prepare statement, and the statement is going to update. So the update statement goes as so update, then the table name, so player underscore data, and we're going to set logins equal to question mark, where the player equals question mark semicolon. Remember semicolons. And then we're going to say logins update dot set int 1. So the first integer, or the first question mark, is the logins. So that's previous logins plus 1, because we're adding 1 to the logins, because that is just getting what they already have. And then the second, so logins update dot set string, this time 2 to the player name. Dot get player dot get name, like so. And finally, we want to actually update. So logins update dot execute update, and that's going to execute our update into our database. Finally, we're going to say logins update dot close, SQL dot close, and result dot close. Oh, result dot close. So we're closing all the 3 things that we just opened, like so. So what if the table doesn't contain the player? This means we want to actually insert them into it. We want to add them in. If we were to not check, we would be keep on adding and making duplicates all the time. So instead, we're going to insert them this time and update what is already there, rather than inserting here. So otherwise, we're going to say prepared statement new player equals connection dot prepare statement, and in this statement we're going to insert, so this is the syntax for the insert statement, insert into, then the table name, so player data, values, and then the values we're inserting. So in our table, currently, we have player, kills, deaths, logins, in that order. So the player name is question mark, the kills is 0, they haven't killed anyone yet, it's their first time logging in, deaths is 0, and the logins is 1, because they've logged in this time they're logging in now, I guess. So we're going to say new player, obviously, dot set string, the first question mark equal to event dot get player dot get name, which is unique, and then we're going to say new player dot execute. So we're executing that, and then we're just going to close it. So that's a nice quick thing to do right there. So that's how that works. So in recap, we're going to define a new variable integer called previous logins. We're going to check if the player data table contains the player's name, in which we select everything from player data table where the player's name is equal to question mark. If that result set is empty, we're going to return false, otherwise return true. If this is true, so if they are in the table, we're going to get their logins from the player data where their player name is equal to their player name. We're going to execute this query, get the first result set, which has to contain something, and set the previous logins equal to the result set.getInt logins, and that is the name of the field we defined here, logins. Next, we're going to actually update our table. So we're going to update our table player data and set logins equal to something and where player name is equal to something. Logins is equal to the previous logins, which we just got from that, plus 1. And the logins update.set string 2, so set the player name equal to the player's name who has just logged in. We're going to execute this update, then close that statement. The other statement, which actually selected the amount of player logins previously they've had, and the result set that we created. Otherwise, if the player name does not, if the table does not contain their player name, we're going to make a new statement which is going to insert their values of their player name 0, 0, and 1, 0 kills, 0 deaths, 1 login into the database. So that is actually it. Your plugin.yml does not need to look any different from normal. That's not even necessary. Like so that's just a normal plugin.yml. Bukkit.b.game, which is the name of my package for some reason. .game. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the game. Okay, so if we actually look at the database now, you'll see the table's empty. So if I click on it, empty result set. If I join the server I've installed it on, see I log in, go back to our table, it's gonna see my name, no kills, no deaths, 1 login. If I disconnect, that was my single player. If I disconnect and reconnect, then you'll see that in our table, if I refresh it, we have 2 logins. If I just get someone else quickly to log in, I'll be right back. Okay, so create the cascade, Kate joined, and you'll see she is now in the database with 1 login. I now have 3 because I just relogged. Relog, please. See if she relogs. And then I can show that it'll update even with other people that aren't me. Even though I don't know why you would think it would update with just me. That doesn't make any sense. If she sees the message, of course. Relog. Relog. I mean, I suppose I'll just talk for a second. I had a big break from the Bukkit Lunch Tour. I went on holiday, I don't know if everyone knows, for like 4 weeks to France. So that's why there were no things for the last like month or 2 months. Post ideas, sensible ideas in the description, and I will do them. I'm currently making a list. I'll show you the list, I guess, whilst we wait. I mean, I guess, you know, this works. Joey's in the server. Kate left. I don't know if she's going to rejoin. Anyway, we can check Joey's. So Joey's now logged in, and Kate's got 2, so Kate's obviously relogged. So that's how that works. Here's my list so far for plugin ideas. So this is my list so far, and this is my current list of things to do. This, I guess, I'll do soon. I mean, I've done these essentially. I'll probably do another one or something to do with kills and deaths, but that's it so far. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you next time.